Greetings, I'm Devin Trent. In this video, I want to walk you through the proactive parent path. It's the quickest way I know to help your kid to thrive, prosper, and become the best version of themselves as future-ready adults. In this video, we're going to do three things. First, I want to show you what are the stages of development your child will go through as they grow up. Secondly, show you what skills and support will they need from you, not only to survive, but to thrive in each stage of development. Third, I want to give you a blueprint to help your kid develop these skills so they can flourish and blossom as happy, resilient, responsible, productive, and constructive future-ready adults. This is a system I developed over the years after serving families both online and in real life. It's based on three major skills that I've personally used for myself to become a first-time home buyer, to become a full-time entrepreneur, and to finally find my purpose in life after almost 40 years of trial and error. This is the shortcut that many parents say they wish they knew sooner when their children were still young, and many parents have said that this was an answer to their prayers. So let me show you how it works. I brought some visual aids. Let's get right into it. Okay, so let's look at the different stages of development that your child will go through on their journey. In the beginning, your child will be dependent on you, but eventually you'll be dependent on them. So it's in your own best interest to support your kid with the best tools and skills possible as soon as possible so that they have more time to practice these skills and the skills become a habit as your child grows into a future-ready adult that you can depend on. Because the better you support them now is the better they can support you later. These stages go from 0 to about the age of 25 when the human brain is fully developed. I know a lot of people say when you get 18, it's time to get on your own and be independent, but I don't agree with that. The research says the human brain is not developed until you're the age of 25. You're not a full-grown adult until about 25. As we go through this, I invite you to do two things. First, think back to your childhood at each stage and what did you need from your parents back then. Then secondly, think about your child today and what might they need from you now. All right, so let's get into it. Obviously, we all start at 0 and we are 100% dependent on our parents for survival. And this stage, children don't have any vocabulary, so their main communication is action. They cry because they don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to tell you what they need. And this is what I want to highlight, the importance of learning from the experience of others. Because if a child can't tell you what they need, and this is your first child, then how do you know what they need? They can't tell you what they need, so how do you know? This is why they say it takes a village. Somebody who has already had the experience, somebody has already been through the stage that you're currently in, and they can guide you from their own experience because you don't have any experience. This is your first child. You never raised a 3-year-old child, so how do you know? So that is the toddler age. They are 100% dependent on you for survival. The next stage is 3 to 6 years old. By this time, kids are in preschool, and they still have that sense of innocence. By this time, they start to have some vocabulary, and they are very curious and asking lots of questions. And some parents make the mistake, some adults make the mistake of telling kids that you're asking too many questions. One mom told me how the adults in her life would tell her to stop asking so many questions and telling her that she talked too much. And this has affected her self-esteem all the way up into adulthood. At this age, children are starting to have a sense of identity and self-awareness. This is a good time to allow them to overcome small struggles because this is how you build confidence. You build confidence when you see yourself overcome a struggle. So if you see a child struggling, I would resist the urge to immediately save them, but instead coach them through it. Help them to overcome the struggle. One mom told me how her mother would try to help her with math homework and her mom would call her stupid. And this mother has grown up into adulthood and she always had this voice in her head that I'm stupid. I struggle with math, so I'm stupid. And she got this thought from her own mother. So like I said, as we go throughout this journey, I invite you to reflect on your childhood and what did you need from your parents, and then think about today. How are you supporting your child today? What are you saying to them today? Because what you say today is what they will carry into tomorrow. But yeah, let kids build up a positive identity. Help them to build up confidence by overcoming small struggles. Let them start to have a little bit of independence. Let them pick their own shoes out every now and then, maybe once a week. You can let them pick their shoes on a Friday if they're going to preschool. Let them pick out their outfit. Let them start to get in the habit of being independent and overcoming small struggles. Okay, the next stage is the ages 6 to 12 years old. They are 75% dependent on you. By this time, kids are in school and they're not around you all day. This is also the time around the 5th grade. Between the 5th and 6th grade, this is where kids start to lose their innocence. I've talked to educators and other parents, and a lot of educators, they say the kid at 5th grade, when they go to the summer break and come back to school in the 6th grade, it's a different kid. Tell me in the comments, have you seen a change in your child? Have you seen that innocence start to fade away? What age did you see that innocence start to fade away? Put a comment down below. But yeah, this is the time when they are more susceptible to peer pressure because they at school, they dealing with the public, they dealing with other kids. This is a good time to increase social skills and communication skills because like I said, they won't be with you always. You can't protect them from everything, but you can prepare them for anything. If you put the right identity in them during those early years, if you help them build up confidence in those early years, then when they get out here in the real world, they will be less likely to fall victim to peer pressure. They won't be chasing that sense of belonging if they feel that belonging at home. Like I said, at this stage, they're about 75% dependent on you. They still dependent on you for food, water, and shelter, for physical survival. But social survival, it's time to start building skills. And at the end of the day, they are relying on you to support them in building those skills. I saw a video recently, a dad was making fun of his son. I think his son was 10 years old. And the dad was making fun of him because he didn't know how to pump gas. And the son says, "Dad, how am I supposed to know how to pump gas if you never taught me?" And the dad had to sit back and think like, wow, I never taught you how to pump gas? He had to realize like, what else have I not taught you? We can't just assume that people will know. You can't just assume that your child should know. How can they know if you don't teach them? I've even seen people do this with relationships. I talked to a woman before and she said how she broke up with a guy because he didn't know a certain thing. She was like, he's supposed to just know. You're supposed to know this by now. And I'm like, how is he supposed to know what you're thinking? He won't know what you're thinking unless you tell him. So I say all that to say, we can't assume that children would know just by osmosis. You have to deliberately and intentionally put these skills in them and equip them with the right tools. You have to make sure. You have to verify. Have to make sure that they do know and not assume that they do know. So yeah, skill building is very important, especially around this age. All right, next we have early adolescence from 12 to 14 years old. This is those teenage years. This is the time when kids start to pull away. They are only 65% dependent on you. As teenagers, they want to start doing their own thing. You might find yourself having more power struggles because they start pulling away. And that's good. That's okay because teenagers need to have that sense of independence. You don't want them being dependent on you, running behind your back and holding onto your leg like a toddler would do. They're not toddlers. They're teenagers. It's not time for that no more. It's time to grow to the next stage. And this is a mistake some parents make as helicopter parents, watching their child every move and being overprotective. The child never get a sense of independence. The child never build the skills to be independent because their parents are constantly rushing in to rescue them and don't let them overcome any struggles. Don't let them build up confidence by overcoming struggles. The parents always run in to save them from struggles. So the kids grow up and have a dependency. It becomes accidental dependency. That's not healthy. That's not healthy at this stage. It's healthy for them to be dependent on you as a toddler. It's healthy for them to be dependent on you while they're in preschool, but they teenagers now. It's time to move on. Your child is going to be an adult longer than they will be a child. And the skills that they learn in childhood will carry them into adulthood. So it's important to instill the right skills early. And I know some parents say, I just want my kids to enjoy their childhood. I want them to be happy. It's a balance. You have a balance. Yes, it's a time to have fun and play and have joy and, and be a kid. Yes, it's time for that. But there's also a time to build skills. You got to have a balance between both. Because again, one day you're going to be dependent on them. One day you're going to want them to be a dependable adult. They're not always going to be your dependent. Eventually, you're going to be their dependent. How can you make sure that they are somebody that you can depend on? At this stage, at the teenage years, it's a good time to be a listening ear. I talked to a dad one time, and he said one thing that he regret is not listening. He said, I was doing too much talking when I should have been listening more. Even if your kids do have the skills to take care of you in your latter years, if you don't have a close bond, maybe they won't want to take care of you. Maybe they have the skill to take care of you, but they don't have the desire to take care of you because they don't feel a close bond. How do you build a close bond if you never take time to bond with them? And when you are taking time to bond with them, if you as a parent is constantly trying to correct and teach them stuff, you got, like people always say, connection and then correction. If your kids still want to talk to you and have a relationship during these teenage years, that's healthy. And it's healthy if you do more listening instead of talking. Because remember, as a toddler, they was asking a bunch of questions. As a toddler, you might have been telling them, oh, you talking too much. Now in these teenage years, you're going to be wishing they was doing some talking. If you find out that they're not talking to you, that's a red flag. That's not healthy. That's a symptom of the past. That's a symptom of an unhealthy relationship coming up. If you had a healthy relationship coming up, then in these teenage years, they would still want to talk to you. And if you find out they don't want to talk to you, then it's a high probability that it's something that happened in the past, that you didn't do a good job of building that bond. So that's just something to be mindful of. If your child is still young, that's something to be mindful of. Next, we have the age of 15 to 17, which is middle adolescence. This is when kids cross the threshold into being more independent because they are 45% dependent on you, which means they are 55% dependent on themselves. By the age of 17, they probably have had their first job. They probably got a car by now. If not, then they are taking public transportation out on their own. They might be on an Uber. They are being more independent. They out in the world by themselves. They might even buy their own food. Instead of them relying on you for food, water, and shelter, they might be providing their own food, water, and shelter. At this age, social media can have a big hold on some kids. For some kids, social media can be a struggle. For other kids, it's not. I know a lot of parents, when their kids are young, they don't let them have an Instagram account. They don't even let them have a smartphone. They keep them on a watch. But by this age, those parents who didn't let kids have a phone, they finally let them have a phone now. And some kids are getting on social media now. By this age, their peers have a lot of influence on them. And it can go one of two ways. If the child has confidence and a high self-esteem and a positive self-image, if parents were building up this self-image in the earlier stages, by this time, they're not running along with the crowd. They're not trying to find belonging. They're not trying to fit in because they know who they are. But the other kids who don't have a high self-esteem, they are trying to fit in because they don't know who they are. They don't have that self-awareness. They don't have that positive identity. And because of that, they might ignore the red flags. They see the red flags, but they ignore them because they want to fit in. And by this time, parents realize that they didn't give the kids the skills. And by this time, it's harder to teach those skills. I didn't say that it's impossible. I said it's harder. So the purpose of the proactive parent is to be proactive and teach those skills proactively and not wait until the kid is 17 and finally learn the social skills. At this age, when I was 15, I had my first job at 15 and my first car I think at 16, my dad bought me my first car. I was being independent. Some kids, they have what they call failure to launch syndrome. I've heard parents say, oh yeah, my kid had a failure to launch. And I hear a lot of parents put the onus on the kids when I put the onus on the parents. The parents are the leaders. The parents are responsible to prepare their kids for the real world. If your kid had a failure to launch, that's not their fault. That responsibility lies on the parents. The same thing with the gas pump dad. The dad who was making fun of his son because he didn't know how to pump gas. Because his dad didn't teach him how to pump gas. What else did you not teach him? How can he launch if you never taught him how to launch? Okay, so this is when it starts getting serious. Next, we have late adolescence. From 18 to the age of 25, your kid should be 10% dependent on you. They should be more dependent on themselves. Now, this is a time when this is a time when I was born. And this late adolescence. My parents, their brains wasn't even fully developed yet. They were kids having kids. I noticed that many kids have parents who are still kids. My goal with this program is to help kids have parents who are proactive. At this stage, at this late adolescent stage, it's healthy for a child to start taking care of you, start taking care of their parents, and start taking you out for dinner, start treating you to brunch. If your kid can take you out to lunch, if your kid can take you out to dinner, then you did something right. If you find yourself still rescuing them because they can't solve their own problems, that's a red flag. There's a high probability that some skills were not taught at the earlier stages. But like I said, if the skills were taught, by this stage, they are only dependent on you about 10%. Finally, the final stage, a thriving adult who is dependable. They are only dependent on you by 0%. Now, not to say that they don't depend on you at all because you still need family, but eventually, you as a parent, you're not going to live forever. And when you're not here, how can they depend on you when you're not here? If you instilled the right skills at the earlier stages, they can depend on the skills that you taught them. And if you had a good balance between connection and correction, not only can they take care of you, but they will want to take care of you. They will want you to depend on them because you have a good relationship, because you had a good balance between connection and correction. If it's unbalanced, if there's too much connection, then you can coddle the child where they never get to be a thriving adult. You coddle them so much that now they're still dependent on you. That's if you had too much connection. If you had too much correction, where you constantly correcting them and they feel like they can't do nothing right, they have low confidence, then this could lead to resentment. Yeah, they probably could take care of you, but they don't want to because of what happened at the earlier stages. Okay, so those are the stages of development from dependent to dependable. The question I would like for you to ask yourself is your leadership today preparing them for adulthood tomorrow? When you look at this graphic, ask yourself, what phase is my child currently in and what skills are required at each stage? So next, I want to show you the 3 major skills that your kid will need in order to thrive. Not only survive, but to thrive as a future-ready adult. Hey, real quick, before we get into the 3 skills, if you've seen enough already and you want to work together, then tap the link down below this video. It will take you to a document that gives you all the details of what it's like for us to work together. So yeah, read the document, you'll get all the details, and I'm looking forward to talking to you soon. Let me walk you through the proactive parent path. This is the quickest and most efficient way that I know to help you prepare your kid for life outside your home. My ultimate goal is for your child to become the best version of themselves. In the world of psychology, we call this self-actualization, which just means to become the best version of yourself. So that is the goal. Everything that we're about to do revolves around that goal. How do you know once you've reached that goal? What is some evidence? What things have to be true? One piece of evidence is that a person is happy and content. You won't always be happy, but even when you're not happy, you'll still be content. This is one piece of evidence that you are living your best life, that you are the best version of yourself. That's a green flag. That's evidence. Another piece of evidence is having healthy relationships. Having a healthy relationship with yourself, a healthy relationship with others, both personal and professional. Healthy relationships is a green flag. That's evidence that you're living your best life. A red flag, having toxic relationships, that's a red flag. Having healthy relationships, that's a green flag. Another piece of evidence is having financial stability. The way the world is set up today, it's going to be hard to have healthy relationships and to have happiness and contentment if you don't have financial stability. That's just the way the world is set up. But when you do have financial stability, then you are well on your way to becoming the best version of yourself. That is a piece of evidence that a person is the best version of themselves when they have financial stability, healthy relationships, and they are happy and content. Now, here's my question to you. Do you have a plan today to help your child become their best self tomorrow? Because that is the goal. The goal is for your child to become the best version of themselves. So what is your plan to help them reach that goal? I don't know about you, but my parents told me that if I go to school and get good grades, then I can get a good job and work for 40 years and retire at the age of 65. That's the old way. That's the old plan. That plan is obsolete. If you look around, you can see that plan is obsolete. Many people today are in their 60s and still working at a job. Some people working 2 jobs. There's no such thing as a good, safe job. Even government jobs. Back in the day, getting a good, safe government job was a thing to do. But you look around today, you can see there are no safe jobs. The old plan is outdated. It's a brave new world. So we need a brave new plan. How are you preparing your child for the brave new world? How are you keeping up with the speed of technology and how fast it's evolving? What is your plan? Because remember, your child's life tomorrow depends on your leadership today. Right now, they are dependent on you. Tomorrow, you will be dependent on them. So if the goal is to prepare them for the future and to secure your own well-being and to secure their own well-being, you guys are on the same team. You and your child are on the same team. The better you support them today is the better they can support you tomorrow. So you're on the same team. What is your plan? So if the goal is for your child to become the best version of themselves, then this is a conversation worth having. All right, so now let's look at the 3 major skills. The 3 major skills are as follows: internal strength, external awareness, and economic readiness. These are 3 major skills that kids will need as they grow into adults in order for them to become their best version of themselves and to thrive as future-ready adults. Not just survive, but to thrive. They will need these 3 skills. Let's begin with internal strength. What does it look like, and how will it move your kid closer to the goal? Internal strength looks like confidence and resilience. When they are able to do hard things, make big decisions, and take the next small step. When they are able to overcome their fears and have courage. When they're able to overcome their fears, this gives them courage and confidence. This builds internal strength. So now let's look at some action steps. Inside the proactive parent path, I have what I call playbooks. These are action steps, things that you can do to help your child build these skills. One action step that we already talked about is to let them do hard things, let them overcome challenges. A person builds confidence when they see themselves overcome a challenge. So allow your child to overcome challenges. Let them do small, hard things. Let them do small, hard things, and this will build up confidence and resilience. This confidence and resilience is evidence that they have internal strength, which is needed in order for a person to become the best version of themselves and to be happy and content. Next, another action step is to separate deeds from identity. Now, we just built up that confidence by letting them overcome small struggles. This playbook is about not tearing down the confidence that we just built up. For example, instead of telling the kid that you're a bad kid, or you're dumb, or you're stupid, say that the thing that you did was bad. You're a good kid who did a bad thing. When you tell them that you're a bad kid, they take on that identity. I'm a bad kid. But when you tell them that the thing that they did was bad, they can say in their mind, oh, that was a bad thing. I'm a good kid, but I did a bad thing. Separate the deed from the identity so you don't tear down their confidence after you done already built it up. Tell them that the thing that they did was stupid. Not that they are stupid. You're not a stupid kid, but the thing that you did, that was stupid. And that ties into the third thing is language. It's a very subtle shift, but it's powerful. The language that you use when they're in your presence becomes the voices that they hear when they're not in your presence. So give them positive self-talk. When they hear your voice as positive self-talk, when you talk to them positive when they're in your presence, now when they're out in the real world, when you're not there, they can hear the positive voice in their head. But how can they hear a positive voice if you don't give them positive self-talk? I saw a video on Instagram recently, and there was a little kid. I think he was with his mom or his grandmother. The little kid was at a park where they had dirt bikes, and the mother was telling him, "You can do it." And he was like, "I can't do it." And she was like, "You can do it. I know it's hard, but you can do it." And the little kid, he was scared about it. And the mom told him, "You got it, baby." And as he was pulling off, her final words were, "You got it, baby." And so as he riding the dirt bike, he started saying to himself, I guess he had a camera on his helmet. He started saying to himself, "You got it, baby. You got it, baby." He said, "You got it, Matthew." He was able to give himself positive self-talk because his parents gave him positive self-talk. When your parents give you negative self-talk, then you give yourself negative self-talk. And this hurts their confidence and resilience. And this is a hindrance that gets in the way from becoming the best version of yourself. So resist the urge to say that they are a bad kid or to say that they are lazy. Instead of telling them that you're lazy, no, help them get up and do the thing. The same thing we talked about earlier, the dad with the gas pump dad. You got to teach them how to do it and give them positive self-talk and positive reinforcement. People do more of the thing that you reward them for. I notice a lot of time parents have a lot to say when kids do something bad, but they don't have a lot to say when they do something good. So I encourage you to balance it out. Make sure you reward them for doing something good. Make sure you tell them. Make sure you acknowledge it and validate it that you did a good thing. People do more of the things you reward them for. The biggest thing a child wants from you is your attention. If they notice that they get your attention when they do something bad, then what do you think they're going to do? They want your attention. They get your attention when they do something bad. So they're going to keep doing something bad to get more attention, to get the thing that they want. But if you give them your attention when they do something good, if you constantly giving them validation for doing something good, then what will they do? People do more of the things that you reward them for. So be careful of the language. And then this word acceptance. I listened to Dr. Becky on YouTube. She has a brand called Good Inside. And she talked about this phrase, "I wish." When people say "I wish," it's because they have accepted that they can't. A mom would say, "Oh, I wish I could just lay in the bed and watch TV all night and whatever. But the parent setting the example by saying, "I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that," that is an example that you can't do it. So now when you start hearing the child saying, "Oh, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that," that lets you know that they have accepted that they can't do it. They're going to follow your example. So set the example. Help them to accept that you can't do it. And you help them to accept that you can't do the thing by saying, "I wish." Model that behavior. Set that example. I wish I could sit around and eat ice cream all day and lay in bed and watch cartoons all day. But I can't do that. I got to get up and go to work. I got to take care of my responsibilities. So now when kids feel like they want to do something that's unproductive and they follow your example, they will say, "Oh, I wish I could sit around and do nothing all day, but I can't. I got to get up and be productive." You see what I'm saying? So these are 3 action steps that parents can take. These are 3 playbooks inside the proactive parent path that you can use to help build up confidence and resilience, which is an indicator that your child has internal strength, which is a skill that they will need in order to become the best version of themselves. All right, so now that they have skills to manage the internal world inside them, now they need skills to manage the external world around them. And that brings us to external awareness. What is external awareness? What does it look like? And how will it move your child closer to the goal of becoming the best version of themselves? We all live on one planet. There's some 9 billion people on planet Earth, and we all have to share this space together. Your child will need people skills to navigate life in order to become the best version of themselves. That's what external awareness is. Awareness of how their actions will affect others and how others' actions will affect them. So building up this skill of external awareness will allow your child to respond with wisdom. When they're dealing with other people out in the world, instead of responding foolishly, your child will respond with wisdom. Now let me zoom in a little bit on this external awareness. Okay, so for example, there is a difference between being polite and being a people pleaser. I know adults today who say they never learned how to set boundaries, and they have resentment towards their own parents and towards others because they feel like they've become a doormat. They feel like they are a people pleaser, and they don't know how to navigate around other people. In this life, you have givers and takers. Takers will always take as long as you continue to give. And takers know when they're dealing with a giver. And they will use this against you. They will take your kindness for weakness. And this is what I mean. It's okay to be polite, but it's not okay to be a people pleaser, especially at the expense of your own best interests. So we teach kids the difference between being polite versus being a people pleaser. Somebody recently was telling me about a video. Some girl got kidnapped. They saw it on a security camera. Some adult, a stranger, came up to her and told her to come in. I assumed that this child was just being polite, and she see an authority figure. She see a grown-up that says come in. So she just followed their orders, and she got kidnapped. Being a people pleaser is following orders of the authorities without questioning at all. You just blindly following along. That's being a people pleaser. Being polite, you can tell somebody no. See, I've realized that some people, they don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, so they don't want to say no because they fear hurting other people's feelings. It's okay to say no. You can say no and be polite about it. So that's one playbook. Teaching kids the difference between being polite and being a people pleaser. Now, how can you teach them this skill? You can teach them this skill by doing role play. You role play future scenarios. You give them hypothetical situations and coach them on how to navigate these situations. I saw another video recently. A mom had told, so it was a mom at the playground. It was a bunch of moms at the playground and a bunch of kids at the playground. And the mom, one of her kids, they lost sight of her. So instead of the child yelling out, "Mom," the child yelled out the mom's first name. And the other moms told her that that's disrespectful. You shouldn't allow your kids to call you by your first name. And the mom told them that, do you see all of these moms around here? If a child yells out, "Mom," you don't know what child it is. But if the child yells out, "My name" by name, I know exactly who child that is. That's my child. They calling me by name. This is an example of role playing future scenarios. Another thing you can do is debrief from past scenarios. Learn from previous experiences. Have a sit down, dissect the situation, and see what was the positives, what were the negatives, what was constructive, and what was destructive. What can we learn from this situation? And how can we do better next time? This will build up social skills. This will help them to respond with wisdom. And this is a skill that they will need. They will need to have this external awareness in order to become the best version of themselves. Remembering that their life tomorrow is based on your leadership today. Take the lead and do these action steps. Run these playbooks. Okay, so we got 2 major skills. The third major skill is economic readiness. Economic readiness is something that I'm convinced a lot of people don't think about soon enough. I think it's never too early to be proactive. Economic readiness. What does it look like, and how will it help your kid move closer to the goal of becoming their best self? Economic readiness is about learning to earn by adding value to others. It's about being able to solve problems, to problem solve, and to think critically. When I was coming up, a lot of the adults would tell me, "Dev, just follow your passions, just follow your heart. If you do something that you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life." Now, I know that they meant well, but I don't agree with that. If I have a passion to sing, but I'm not a great singer, then how much value am I providing to others? People will not pay me for my passions if my passion is not providing any value. People will pay me to solve their problems. Everybody is going to do what's in their own best interest. And it's in your own best interest to get your problem solved. The more skills that I have, the more problems that I can solve, the more value I can provide, and the more economic readiness I will have. And the same is for your children. Doors open for problem solvers who communicate well, who are responsible and consistent, who contribute, who add value. The world opens doors for people like that. The world opens doors for people who have skills that bring value and solve problems. So yes, economic readiness is about solving problems and providing value. So how do you know which problems to solve? A playbook that parents can run, I recommend that you notice your child's natural strengths. Everybody has strengths and everybody have blind spots. The thing that your child is strong at is a blind spot for somebody else. So they can provide value by covering another person's blind spots, and it can come natural to your child. Ask yourself, what are the things that my child is naturally good at? What are their strengths? How can you help them to monetize these strengths and to provide value and solve problems for other people? How can you help them optimize these strengths to solve problems for others? Because others will pay them to solve their problems. Others will pay them to cover their blind spots, and vice versa. When is the time you pay somebody for their services? When is the time you pay somebody to do something that you couldn't do yourself? What is an area that you're not so strong at, so you pay somebody else because they are strong at? So that's a playbook. Help your child to notice their natural strengths and to build up those natural strengths. Another playbook is to build the skill of earn, save, give, and wait. So this is really about delayed gratification. Help them get in the habit of earning privileges instead of being entitled to privileges. I don't believe in giving kids an allowance just because. I believe because the world don't give you an allowance just because. When your child becomes an adult, nobody's going to give them money just because. They have to learn how to earn. And you earn by providing value, solving problems. And it's never too early to teach a child to learn how to earn by solving problems. So get them in the habit of earning privileges instead of being entitled to privileges. Once they earn that money, get them in the habit to save some of that money, to not spend all of their money all at once. Open a savings account for them. Open an investment account for them. It's never too early to be proactive. Teach them to tithe the Lord their 10% and to tithe to themselves 10%. They got 80% to spend. Let them get in the habit of doing that. Also help them get in the habit to give. It's better to give than to receive. Help them get in the habit. Also help them build the habit of waiting. I'm sure you probably heard of the experiment with I don't know if they were elementary kids. Either way, there was a group of kids. There was two groups of kids. One group, they had the option to eat that marshmallow now, or they can wait a certain period of time and they can have two marshmallows later. Certain kids, they say, oh, I'm going to take the marshmallow now. And other kids, they practice delayed gratification. They say, I'm not going to eat the marshmallow now. I'll wait until I have an extra one later. And so these kids will follow into adulthood. And it comes to find out the kids who had delayed gratification, who were able to wait for the second marshmallow, they became more prosperous and economically ready compared to the kids who couldn't wait, who had to have the marshmallow now. So yes, delayed gratification and compound interest. Allow your child to build up this habit of waiting. Patience is a virtue. Another playbook is risk management. Life is like a competitive game of risk management. There is no 100% guarantees. Most things in life are on a spectrum. Most things in life are an exercise of risk management. Relating it to economic readiness, some people say it's too risky to be an entrepreneur. I'd rather get a job, a good, safe government job. But as you look around and see, there are no good, safe government jobs. Getting a job is risky. Being an entrepreneur is risky. Everything is risky if you don't manage your risk. Everything is risky if you don't know what you're doing. Crossing the street is risky if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't have a guide, if you don't have somebody to lead you down the path, if you don't have somebody to teach you what to do, then everything is risky. So help your child to have critical thinking skills and to weigh out the risk. Is the risk worth the reward? If I make this decision, then that means I can't make this other decision. There's always a cost. There's always an exchange. And it's never too early to help your child understand this concept of risk management. So these are some playbooks. Now we have an overview of the skills your child will need in order to become a thriving adult that you can depend on in the future. Now I'll invite you to look at each one of these action steps and give yourself a rating like on a traffic light. Green, yellow, red. Which of these action steps would you say that you're doing good? Which ones do you think could have some improvement? And which ones you know definitely we have not been doing good with that? So let's look at internal strength. When it comes to small, hard tasks, many of the parents I talk to, I know that some of them, they allow their kids to do hard stuff, and some parents don't. They come in and rescue. So we'll put a yellow for this. What is the rating for you? Do you give it a green, yellow, or red? When it comes to separating deeds from identity, I've noticed many parents are not doing great in this area. They tell their kids that you're dumb or you're stupid instead of separating the deeds from identity. Same thing for language and acceptance. Give yourself a rating. How do you fare in this area? In regards to politeness versus people pleasing, I know some parents, they do decent in this area. Some parents don't. Where do you give yourself? What rating do you give yourself in this area? In regards to role play in future scenarios, I have noticed people excel in this area. Even some social media parents, I've seen they do role play future scenarios. And the same thing with a debrief with past situations, learning from past experiences. I know a lot of people are doing well with that. In regards to earn, save, give, wait, some people might do part of it, but they don't do all of it. So give yourself, what rating would you give yourself? Earn, save, give, and wait. How well have you helped your kid practice delayed gratification? Okay, in regards to noticing natural strengths. Many parents I talk to, they might notice their child's natural strengths, but they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to monetize it. But noticing, that's half the battle. Where would you rate yourself in this area, in this action step? Then in regards to risk management, I notice most people are not doing great in this area. A lot of people tell their kids to just follow the plan, follow the system, and the plan is outdated. The system is outdated. But how about you? What rating would you give yourself in regards to risk management? I want to tell you a quick story before we wrap this up. 20 years ago, I finished high school back in 2006. And back then, some of my classmates were teenage parents, just like my parents were teenage parents back in high school. Now, 20 years later, some of my classmates, their children have gone to college. I watched an entire generation grow up from birth to adulthood. And I've noticed that some of my classmates, their children are thriving adults, and some of them are not. Some of these kids had parents who equipped them with skills, and some of them did not. Now, I'm not here to shame and blame or pass judgment. I'm actually here to help if you want it. But at the end of the day, the choice is yours, whether you want the help or not. But if looking at this map, if there were 3 things that I could help you with over the next 30, 60, 90 days, 3 things that could help your child become the best version of themselves, maybe something in regards to building confidence and resilience, something in regards to building external awareness, or having economic readiness. If there were 3 things that I could help you with, would you be interested in that? If so, I invite you to tap the link down below this video, read the offer document. It'll give you all the details of what it looks like to work with me. Or you can visit the URL invite.devintrent.com. So yeah, tap the link down below, read the document. There are no sales calls. It's just a document. You can read it. If you're interested, we move forward. If not, no hard feelings. I wish you the best. But yeah, that's it for this video. This is the proactive parent path. And Lord willing, I'll talk to you soon. Peace.